We recommend supplying the machine with compressed air. Operating pressure must be equal to 6/7 bar, only after having checked that the oil tank plug is tightened properly. Run a few test cycles to check the operation of the riveting tool. Remove the compressed air supply. Remove the nail container. Remove the cap from its housing. Loosen and remove the sleeve carrying nozzle using a 27 mm wrench. Loosen the tank plug using a 4 mm hex key and remove it together with the sealing washer. Connect the compressed air supply. Drain the oil. To dispose of exhaust oil, we recommend following the relative international environmental standards. Remove the compressed air supply. Loosen the 3m5 screws using a 4 mm hex key. Remove the connector. Remove the O-ring gasket. Remove the pin using suitable pliers. Then, remove the valve kit. Lock the riveting tool on a clamp, and remove the protection bottom ring. Remove the siege ring. Remove the bottom plate. Then, remove the piston unit. Loosen the ring nut using a special tightening wrench, which we will provide upon request. Now, you can separate the hand trip unit from the cylinder. Remove the cylinder from the clamp. Remove the O-ring gasket from its seat on the cylinder. Remove the O-ring gasket that holds the ring nut, and then remove it from the cylinder. Remove the O-ring gasket from the ring nut. Then, check that the internal thread is in good conditions. Check the gasket seat on the cylinder, and make sure that the internal cylinder surface is not scratched. Make sure that the tube is in good conditions and firmly fastened. Remount all the O-ring gaskets in their seats on the cylinder and ring nut, and remove them if they are, or in case of machine overhaul. Now, disassemble the pneumatic piston. Tighten the pneumatic piston assembly in a vise. With an 8 mm wrench, unlock the gasket kit. Then unscrew it, and remove it from the stem. Check that the gasket kit is in good condition. If the parts are damaged or worn, replace them. Make sure that the shock absorber is in good conditions. Check the conditions of both the internal and external O-ring gasket. Put some Loctite 542 on the thread of the gasket kit. Say. Screw it onto the stem and lock it with an 8 mm wrench with a torque of 5 Nm. Important, we recommend replacing all the gaskets if they are worn out or in case of machine overhaul. Now, disassemble a pneumatic piston. Remove the gasket kit, which consists of the following components: sedia, washer, balsal seal, under-ring gaskets, removing the inner one first. Check the seats of the gaskets on the stem. Make sure that the latter is not scratched. Make sure that the shock absorber is in good conditions. Check the conditions of both the internal and external O-ring gasket. Important, we recommend replacing all the gaskets if they are worn out or in case of machine overhaul. Mount the O-ring gaskets on the stem, inserting the outer one first. Introduce the balsal seal, making sure that the sealing lip faces upwards. Then, insert the washer. Block the sedia in its seat, using suitable pliers. Remove the oil dynamic cylinder from the handgrip. Remove the two lower O-ring gaskets from the handgrip. Remove the silencer. Then, remove the deflector. Loosen and remove the valve plug, using a 6mm hex key. Remove the coil together with the relative spring. Remove the gaskets and casings of the coil kit together, using an ejector. Remove the two upper O-ring gaskets from the handgrip. Release the 3 pins that fasten the control lever from their seats, using a hammer and pin punch. Then, remove them, using pliers. Remove the lever, and then the pin. Remove the valve, using a pin punch. Then, disassemble a plate kit, using a 2.5mm hex key. Remove both push-button units from the handgrip, using pliers. Check the conditions of the handgrip, in particular the gasket seats, the push-button housing, and make sure that all threads are in good conditions. Before reassembling the push-button units, make sure that the internal side slides smoothly, and that all O-ring gaskets are in good conditions. Replace the component, if required. Apply panel in special grease too. Then, place the push button unit in its seat, using pliers. Carry out the same operations for both push buttons, making sure that their end stop is flush with their seats. Then, reassemble the plate kit, locking it using a 2.5mm hex key. Apply panel in special grease too to the valve. Then, place it in its seat, paying attention to the insertion direction. Mount the pin, making sure it reaches the end stop. Remount the lever kit, inserting the locking device inside the tensile strength button. Then, join the suction control lever, and place the unit inside the hand grip. Place the 3 pins that fasten the lever kit in their seats, using a pin to help you with the centering. Apply light hammer taps to lock them permanently. Check the conditions of the coil kit housing, which must be perfect. Mount the coil kit components on the key, which can be supplied upon request, alternating O-ring gaskets and casings, as shown. Pay special attention to the 2 central casings, which must be contiguous. Apply rear lube 362 HB grease. Then, place the whole set inside the hand grip and push until reaching the end stop. Remove only the rear side of the special wrench, to hold the coil components. Check the conditions of the spring and relative coil, making sure that they are both in good conditions. Assemble them, apply rear lube 362 HB grease, and place them in their seats. Check the integrity and conditions of the valve plug thread, both internally and externally. Then, tighten it onto the hand grip, using a 6mm hex key. Important, always replace any damaged component. Check the O-ring gasket seats and assemble them. Replace them if damaged. Mount the deflector. Then the silencer. Use a 30mm wrench to release the front connector, so as to remove the oil dynamic unit, which we will place inside a 14mm pipe wrench. Use an 11mm wrench to release and remove the cone holder. Then, separate the oil dynamic piston from the front connector. Lock the cone holder in the clamp. Then, loosen and remove the clamp holder cone. Remove the spring, clamp opener, and clamps, in this order. Use a screwdriver to loosen and remove the suction cone. Check the integrity, in particular, of the thread and internal part. Check the expeller extension and the rear and front thread of the cone holder. Remove the O-ring gasket from the cone holder. Important, always replace the gasket in case of machine overhaul. Mount the O-ring gasket on the cone holder. Then, the suction cone. Use suitable pliers to remove the seizure from the front connector. Then, remove the washer and nozzle seal. Now, remove the internal O-ring gasket. Remove the two external O-ring gaskets. Check the conditions of the front connector, in particular, the seats of the internal and external gaskets, and the thread. Important, we recommend replacing all the gaskets in case of machine overhaul. Mount the external O-ring gaskets starting from the lower one. Mount the internal O-ring gasket and place it in its seat. Make sure that the writing on the balsal seal faces upwards. This way, the sealing lip will face outwards. Then, place it inside the front connector. Mount the washer. Then, lock the seizure ring using suitable pliers. Remove the seizure ring from the oil dynamic piston. Remove the following in this exact sequence: stop ring, balsal seal, anti-extrusion ring. Then, turn the component and remove the external O-ring gasket and the internal O-ring gasket. Check the stem roughness, which must be equal to 0.2 Ra, to guarantee hydraulic seal. Make sure that all components are in good conditions, in particular, the internal and external O-ring gaskets, and the balsal seal. Important, we recommend replacing all the gaskets in case of machine overhaul. Now, mount the oil dynamic piston. Place the internal O-ring gasket first. Then, mount the external O-ring gasket. Insert the anti-extrusion ring. Balsal seal. Making sure that the writing on the balsal seal faces upwards. This way, the sealing lip will face outwards. Now, place the stop ring, making sure that the groove faces the gasket. Lock the C-ring using suitable pliers. Apply panel in special grease 2 to the oil dynamic piston and front connector. Join the two units. Place the piston hexagonal seat on the 14mm pipe wrench tight end in the clamp. Apply Loctite 270 to the cone holder thread. Screw the cone holder onto the oil dynamic unit. Then, lock it using an 11mm wrench. Check the state of wear of the clamps. Clean or replace them, if required. Make sure that the threads of the clamp holder cone are not damaged, and that the inside is free from scratches, otherwise replace the component. Check the integrity of the clamp opener surfaces, and the state of wear of the spring. Mount the 3 clamps inside the cone. Place the clamp opener inside the spring. Then, place them both inside the cone. Tighten the clamp holder cone onto the cone holder. Lock the clamp holder cone using a 16mm wrench. Apply panel in special grease 2 to the reassembled oil dynamic unit. Check the oil dynamic cylinder, in particular the conditions of the O-ring gasket, the integrity of the external and internal thread, and the jacket surface, which must be equal to 0.2 Ra. In addition, check the thread and seat of the plug, and the rear threads. Apply panel in special grease 2 to the O-ring, and inside the cylinder. Now, introduce the previously assembled oil dynamic unit. Tighten the front connector onto the oil dynamic cylinder, locking it using a 30mm wrench. Insert the oil dynamic cylinder inside the hand grip unit. Apply panel in special grease 2 to the gaskets of the ring nut O-ring, and Loctite 542 to the internal thread. Apply panel in special grease 2 to the O-ring gaskets and outside the pneumatic cylinder. Mount the pneumatic cylinder on the hand grip, paying attention to the coupling between pin and relative seat. While holding the hand grip, lock the assembled parts in a suitable clamp. Tighten the ring nut using a wrench, which can be supplied upon request, so as to fasten the hand grip to the pneumatic cylinder. Apply panel in special grease 2 to the inside the pneumatic cylinder. Apply panel in special grease 2 to the pneumatic piston, the external and internal O-ring gasket, and to the gasket kit assembled on the shaft. Use a hammer with a rubber end to place the pneumatic piston inside the riveting tool body. Apply panel in special grease 2 to the bottom plate O-ring gasket, and place it inside the pneumatic cylinder, using a hammer with a rubber end. Lock the C-ring using suitable pliers, checking the correct position in its seat. Mount the protection bottom ring, and remove the machine from the clamp. Reassemble the rear connector. Place the O-ring gasket in its seat. Mount the spring on the valve unit and place it in the relative housing, paying attention to the direction of the slot. Then, press it inwards. Place the pin on its seat, in particular inside the valve unit slot. Make sure that the valve unit slides smoothly. Apply panel in special grease 2 to the rear connector shaft. Then, place it in the oil dynamic cylinder. Insert the 3M5 screws, and tighten them using a 4mm hex key on, to lock the rear connector to the pneumatic cylinder. Fit the cap in its housing. Supply the machine with compressed air, pressure must be equal to 6/7 bar. Tighten the supplied bellow container onto the plug seat, with the riveting tool in a vertical position and in pause. Press the tensile strength button, to allow the riveting tool to run a few cycles until the bellow container stops emitting air bubbles. This condition means that oil refill inside the cylinder is complete. With the riveting tool always in a vertical position and in pause, loosen the bellow container and close it. Replace the washer and check the plug thread. Close the plug, whose torque must range between 4 Nm and 7 Nm. Press the tensile strength button, to allow the riveting tool to run a series of cycles to check the stroke, which must be equal to 20.5 mm. Apply panel in special grease 2 to the cone holder head unit, in particular, the gasket. Check the conditions of the sleeve carrying nozzle. In particular the threads and O-ring gasket. Replace any damaged part. Tighten the sleeve carrying nozzle onto the front connector, locking it using a 27mm wrench. Mount the nail container. Start the air suction, making sure that the selector switch is set to on. Introduce a rivet of the same size of the nozzle and check the suction is working properly. Run a few test cycles by tightening a few rivets to check the operation of the riveting tool. Remove the nail container. Remove the cap from its housing. Remove the 3m5 screws, using a 4mm hex key. Remove the connector. Remove the O-ring gasket, and check its wear. Important, always replace the gasket in case of machine overhaul. Place the O-ring gasket in its seat. Apply panel in special grease 2 to the rear connector shaft. Then fit it in the expeller extension. Insert the 3M5 screws, and tighten them using a 4mm hex key on, to lock the rear connector to the pneumatic cylinder. Fit the cap in its housing. Taking care of the pairing according to the marks placed on the rear connector. Mount the nail container. To assemble the baffle, remove the nails tank. Then remove the cover. Assemble a reduction on the connector and insert the baffle with a slight pressure. Unscrew and remove the suction knob. Using a pin punch, remove the valve. In particular the conditions of the thread and of the O-rings. Replace the worn parts. Check the status of the valve. In particular the conditions of the O-rings. Replace the worn parts. Put the grease panel in special grease too, on the suction knob and on the valve. Insert the valve into its seat on the hand grip. Screw the suction knob till the end of its stroke, without forcing it.